Hey, what's up guys, it's Fish here and welcome back to another online battle for the Seven Kingdoms mod on Attila Total War. In this battle, me and Apollo wanted to try and create a what-if scenario. A what-if scenario at King's Landing. What if Tywin Lannister decided to, instead of bringing his entire army back to King's Landing, actually just to try and split it up and be a bit cheeky, try and destroy Robb Stark in the north whilst also holding on to King's Landing with a much smaller garrison. Also, what if Stannis decided to land his troops and march and actually siege out King's Landing whilst the majority of Tywin's forces were in the north, or I guess in the Riverlands, fighting Robb Stark? So obviously this battle's all for fun. Like, a lot of this stuff, you could say Stannis would never do this, Stannis would never do that. Obviously that's the case, you can see by the books and the TV show what they actually did. This is just kind of all for fun. We're going to try and create a cool looking battle, like kind of trying to recreate, like our version of King's Landing if this was to somehow occur. As well as that, we're not like super try-harding or anything. We're going to kind of have a really cool battle outside the walls where Apollo is going to be volleying down as my Dragonstone men try and breach the walls and stuff like that whilst my siege equipment get pushed up. And I think it should be really fun. So we have Stannis and Tywin meeting outside the city gates to see if any peace can be resolved. Obviously, if you guys are expecting, how funny would this video be if I was just like, oh, cool, peace has actually been met, Stannis is going to go back, Tywin Lannister is going to go, yeah, Tywin surrendered, and that's the video, guys. Imagine if that was the case. But no, cool. So we're going to go ahead and run through what all the troops look like and the army comps and stuff real quick so you guys know what's in this battle. Obviously, if you want to skip this, you can go ahead and click the skip annotation, which should be on your screen now. And yeah, let's go ahead and get through these army comps. So on my front line I have Stannis Baratheon right here. He is leading my general unit as he's meeting with Tywin. And then obviously we have Tywin over here as well, shouting words, bellowing words across the way. Then behind that I have some of my Dragonstone Knights. Oh yeah, also, I guess I should mention as well, all the Game of Thrones teams on Attila have actually come together now and are working as one. The Kings of Winter, the Seven Kingdoms, and the Fire and Ice team, apparently they're all working together now to create one big Game of Thrones mod, which should hopefully be amazing. Now, they've got a lot of people working on there. It would be amazing if they could create some sort of I guess like some maps and stuff like that, like to recreate Riverrun and Winterfell and stuff like that. That'd be amazing for sure. And I think peace has not been met. Tywin is scurrying back into the castle, and the gap is being filled up here. You can see the Lannister soldiers are forming back right here, and the artillery has already been shooting from Stannis, but we got plenty of time to look at these army comps whilst my artillery starts working down on all these walls. It should be a while before I get any real damage. So yeah, behind that I have my Dragonstone levies, or my Dragonstone knights right back here. They've actually been given lances now, and the glitch with the shield on their back, keep on glitching back and forth, has actually been fixed now, I am pretty sure, as we watch the catapults just devastating that wall. I imagine, yeah, you go, one of the walls have already gone down because of a siege escalation. I'm pretty sure another one as well has also gone down. That's brutal, as my men, my Dragonstone levies, my armoured swords are just marching up into battle. That's just crazy. So yeah, I have about 6,500 men, and Apollo has around about 4,000 men. So I have a good 2,000 man advantage in this battle. Okay, cool. Let's get back to the army comps, because I was just completely ignoring that and kind of got off on a tangent. But for those of you who skipped it, then I guess you guys don't have to worry, really. But yeah, so on my front line I have these Dragonstone armoured swords. Very iconic from the show. I love what they look like. I love the burning stag on their shield. Then behind that I have they've just been equipped with spearmen instead of sword. Then behind that I have my Dragonstone levies. These guys are longbowmen. And then I also, yeah, I think that's about it. I think that's all about my army. A lot of people complain about, units not looking unique, and every unit just looks the same in the armies and stuff. But you got to remember, these are house factions. When the mod is done, there'll be several houses in the Westerlands and 7 houses in the, well, yeah, I guess Stannis will have all his different houses as well, all having different uniforms. So at the moment, these are just house battles. Oh my god, look at that. That's just brutal as my catapults go over. All these houses are kind of just, fighting against each other, but these are individual houses right now. There's a bunch more houses in the Westerlands which will make up the rest of the Lannister army. Much like the North. The North and the Riverlands are kind of the only guys who really have that right now. So cool, yeah, back to the, sorry, I'm really going off on tangents and I do apologise. I'll try and just speed through the battle now. So the Lannister troops, they have actually changed the shields, which I don't know, I kind of really like the last shields, but they still look nice. They also went ahead and I think added in a bunch more detail to the Lannister armour. Like, look how nice that looks now. Well, not now, because it obviously looked good beforehand, but all this engraving and stuff just looks amazing. Then we have some Lannister spears on the front line. These guys are going to be trying to hold the gateway. Behind that we have some Lannister skirmishers, some lightly armoured units just to go ahead and throw in their javelins and then get out of there. I have my Forlorn Hope running ahead of my army. We'll look at that in a second. He also has some more swordsmen over here, and I've been a bunch more men in the city, but I really want to get this charge, as well as like here's some knights as well. You can see there some catapults, but we'll see all that lovely stuff in the battle. So okay, let's go ahead and start this epic siege of King's Landing. Can Stannis Baratheon do it? He has 6,300 men, and the Lannisters only have 4,000 men defending. And here we go, the first bit of engagement, my Forlorn Hope, which is going to be running into the battle, onto the Lannister spears. You are men of Dragonstone. You are fighting for the one true king, Stannis Baratheon. You have R'hllor on your side. Look at this, R'hllor is just keeping my men safe in this flaming fire. The archer fire is probably coming in and it's not going to be hurting any of these guys. And does Apollo not know these flaming arrows aren't going to do anything to me? My Forlorn Hope have gone in and they are fighting away against Apollo's spearmen right there. And then the rest of the infantry are meeting up now. I have a lot of swordsmen, so I'm going to be using that to my advantage as we push in onto this outer defense. We've got more swordsmen forming up. Some more swordsmen are going to be smashing against these spearmen. And it's going to be difficult to actually break down this spear wall because, you know, these spears are very sturdy. They're armoured. They're in a good formation. It's going to take me a while to actually break through their formation, especially with all the archer fire coming from the gatehouse in Apollo's crossbowmen. On top of that, he also has a lot of archer fire coming over here. You know, he's using his walls just to volley down onto my Dragonstone swordsmen. Right here, we're about to charge in against this Lannister swords line. As well as that, also, Apollo also had some pikemen, which I didn't really talk about. Again, looking very nice. I love the Vale pikemen. You guys will see that probably in a video from Apollo fairly soon. But yeah, the Dragonstone, I mean I guess House Aaron pikemen are just spectacular. At the moment, there's only like one army in the Vale faction. They've only got House Aaron, so they're kind of are the Vale right now. Sword fighting is just brutal on this front line as we push in. All this swamp as well is aiding Apollo in this engagement, as it means that my siege equipment is taking forever to come up. So Apollo has sallied out some of his Lannister knights to try and turn this engagement in his favour right now to try and get some kills. He's going to smash into my infantry line. But I'm also going to go ahead and counter that with my own knights coming over. And obviously Stannis is a true warrior. Stannis himself is going to be making his way into this engagement, along with some more Dragonstone spearmen who are going to be meeting this Lannister cab in the field. And there we go, Stannis' troops, his cavalry unit, has jumped into battle. And Stannis will get his hands bloody in this battle if you guys are looking forward to that. He does dismount when the siege really gets going and jumps into battle. But look how crisp this armor is for the Lannister knights. That just looks spectacular. I'm so excited to see what they can do now that all the teams are actually working together in one big mod. Like, I just can't wait. Hopefully they create a campaign for this, because a campaign, even obviously like it just be in Europe, because they can't, like the map's hard coded and stuff like that. But I wouldn't care. Like, a lot of modders kind of stray away from doing campaigns in these mods, like these fantasy like land masses and stuff, just because I guess they feel like the mod's just not gonna like fit in well. But you know, Game of Thrones was based off a lot of English medieval history. You could create just like an epic battle, like an epic factions, you know. It wouldn't be Westeros, but still, you know, it's medieval and Europe's kind of the birthplace of that. So it could definitely work. And just, this scene as well. This is one of the things I love about Attila recently as well, with these huge battles of the catapults coming out from Apollo. It's just like the sheer like length of the battle lines. If you just look down there and in the distance you see all these flags just ruffling and just being held high, siege equipment going up, the flame going up, siege towers being pushed up, more infantry in reserve back there, siege towers being pushed up, flaming arrows coming overhead. It's just such an epic experience, it really is. But yeah, Apollo does have his catapults shooting, and you can see a lot of his city has actually been sieged already and burnt to the ground. So Stannis has been here for a little while, you know. And the catapult's coming out. Does Apollo not know that I am favoured by R'hllor? So my men, you know, won't be affected by flame, even though some of these dudes are burning pretty gruesomely. The ladders and the siege towers are almost at the breach. We're also going to be sending some more men into these breaches. Another huge hit by Apollo. And if we just look at the outscale, look at that. That is just truly, truly epic. So many men, ladders, siege towers, you got everything right here. So these troops are the first guys up. I have some Dragonstone swordsmen going to be climbing up the ladders. These dudes are going to be the first ones over. And Apollo doesn't have too much there. He just has some Lannister archers which are volleying over. Just taking pot shots at my men trying to climb these ladders. And they're probably finding some decent targets. If we go back at the gate right now, the siege tower is being pushed up through the enemy line, which is kind of funny. But yeah, look at the dead. Look how much blood has been sprayed onto these wooden ramparts as the men try and push forward. It's not so gruesome over here. Like, there's not too much death on the front line. It's just really over there. Maybe we can't really see it too much due to the fact that there's loads of grass there, so maybe a lot of the blood is actually being hidden. And I've managed to jump on his archers, silencing them, but Apollo has quickly answered with a unit of his armoured swordsmen to go ahead and meet me on the walls. But I am reinforcing this pretty heavy. This one soldier is just surrounded by like 60 men from Dragonstone. As well as that, I have formed up my spearmen. They're going to be pushing through this breach right here onto some more of his armoured swords. These spearmen, it's your job to kind of just occupy men. Because spearmen are really good on this mod at holding the line and kind of just holding the enemy back for a little while. They're not too good at doing damage, so kind of my goal here was to try and draw as many men away from the wall. So my siege towers, which are now obviously at the wall, can start cutting down these soldiers and really getting into these Lannister soldiers, which keep on popping up as they're trying to hold the walls. If we look over here as well, we have finally managed to break through the center of this engagement, and we're using our superior numbers now just to completely envelop and surround these Lannister soldiers. There is no escape. Anyone left at King's Landing who believes in the wrongful king will die. Stannis is the one true king, and these people will pay in fire. We will burn all our enemies. So yeah, we are using our superior numbers. You can definitely see Apollo's line is starting to curve round now. We are also cutting down some of these skirmishes which Apollo tried to use to outflank me. But these guys should not be a match for my spearmen. My dudes are pretty heavily armoured. As well as that, we're finally cleaning up the rest of his cavalry. There's still a few Lannister swordsmen around, but you can see we've managed to kind of wipe out the rest of his cavalry. There's no real issue of that, which is good. We just still have Tywin in the city. And again, the battle for the city is just brutal. Starting to shoot some more catapults out as well, trying to destroy maybe a few more parts of the wall could help me out here. But now the outer wall has been completely won by Stannis' men. They have completely overrun the Lannisters' defense. There's a few soldiers left, but they're going to be pushing onto these pikemen now and onto the rest of the Lannister swords. Remember as well that my troops are really exhausted. They've been fighting for a long time, whereas Apollo's men are completely fresh. You know, these troops which have been stationary here are completely fresh, so they don't really have to worry too much about, you know, tiring out in this engagement. Whereas my men are going to be fighting poor because they're so tired, and they're going to be trying their best to break through here. Thankfully, a lot of my archer fire have cut down these pikemen. You can see so many of them just falling. That dude getting headshotted and then having to refall. Thankfully, my archers are finding their marks over the walls. And we're also going to be fighting on the battlements now, on these destroyed walls, as my Dragonstone men try their best to push back the enemy. And that was actually Apollo destroying part of his wall. He shot his own catapults at this wall to stop me from getting my men over, because now my men can't jump because the wall is technically like destroyed. And as well as that, Apollo is using his skirmishers to throw spears up onto this wall. And you can see they're definitely finding their mark, killing plenty of my soldiers. So the Lannister forces are not done yet. They still have several reinforcements. You can see along this entire siege as well as we push through this outer layer. There's still plenty of Lannisters who still are ready to fight. Especially over here as well. He's almost managed to get around my flank and surround me here. The Dragonstone soldiers look so nice. I think these are my favourite faction, for sure. And the modder has also added in the Reach, which I really want to show off because the Reach look amazing. However, he said they're not done yet, so he doesn't want me to show them off yet. However, I can't wait. They look really, really cool. They look very different to every other faction. Obviously, very similar to the ones in the show. Their shields are really nice. So I can't wait when he finally finishes off the last few kind of units he's doing for the Reach's troops. Well, I guess it's going to be it's going to be the main force, and it's going to look cool. It's going to be Tyrell troops. However, obviously that's kind of going to be the standing army for the Reach. So we'll be able to see what the Tyrells look like, and they look spectacular indeed. So I'm really looking forward to that. These pikemen, I'm starting to actually get into the pikes, which is good, helping me kind of break that formation, because the pikes are going to be difficult to actually, cut through. Luckily, look how much my archer fire has devastated this unit of Lannister pikes. That's brutal. And we are pushing along all of this. We managed to get some reinforcements as well over here. Some Dragonstone swordsmen are pushing in here now, and they're going to get a nice rear charge into these Lannister swords. These are light swords as well, so these guys do not stand a chance. I'm going to be cutting through these guys like hot butter, a hot knife into butter. You can already see so much blood, so much decapitation from this flank. Yeah, I feel sorry for this unit. They do not stand a chance. They've got armoured swords in the front and armoured spears, and then they've also got some more swords in their rear as well. So it's going to be pretty brutal. If we go more further on down the line as well, we also just destroyed another tower as well. If we go further on down the line, we're fighting a small group of armoured swords which is still alive, which are trying their best just to hold up. If we look at the balance of power, it's looking like it's in my favour right now. It just shifted. I still have around 4,000 men, and Tywin only has around about 600 men left. So it's looking good. However, we do still have to break the hardest bit of the siege, and that's the keep, which I feel like is going to be very, very difficult. My spearmen aren't made for actually killing swordsmen, so they're going to be struggling. However, I'm just trying to use my superior numbers to do this. And I think here we go. This is some of my knights. Maybe this is Stannis himself. I'm not sure if Stannis has dismounted yet. If we look, no, is this Stannis? Oh yeah, here we go. Stannis is marching up. Banners being held high. Going to go ahead and just run into this battle. Lead the men to victory like the true warrior he is. Because Stannis is, as you see in the books and the TV show, he does mount the walls in the Battle of King's Landing, and he's forced to go back. His bannermen tell him to get the hell out of there because if the battle is lost. Stannis would have stayed there and fought to the death, as he is the one true king, of course. A few of these Lannister troops are starting to get overwhelmed and surrounded right now. Their pike line is just completely broken apart now. At least on this left flank is completely broken apart as the swordsmen just cut them down. Pollard does have some archers shooting overhead just into my big line, setting some of these trees alight. But again, does he not know that we are favoured by R'hllor, We are not burnt by fire. We still got fighting up on the walls. These soldiers are going to be holding the line really effectively because they've kind of got a very tight, compact formation, and I can't outflank them. It's very hard for me to actually outflank them. So because of that, their backs are secure. They're just going to be holding up there for a while. As well as that, Apollo's actually managed to form a little outflank on me, on my spearmen. He's managed to get some swordsmen right round here, or some spearmen right round here, accompanied with some extra swordsmen. And I've actually surrounded a couple units of my spearmen. There's a lot of them, so I'm not really too scared right now. However, he's going to be cutting these guys down, making a statement here. These are the brave, brave warriors. But I've also managed to outflank his units as well with some of my soldiers. This is a really weird battle line because all these units belong to this big clump here. So they've kind of come round here and then outflank them. It's really, really weird. Really, really weird. More artillery fire, going to try and burn some more of the citizens. But if we look at over here, my flank right here, where the pikemen did stand, we are completely overwhelming them now. The men are just running through the city. I want to go ahead and support this big blob which has been enveloped. So I'm going to be using my swords. All I have to do is cut through these archers. which should not take long. And then once we've done that, we can move on to supporting our men surrounded by there. And Apollo has seen this. He's seen that the inner walls are pretty much lost, so he's going to be trying to fall back with what he can. Obviously, some of these units, like this unit, cannot fall back. They are stuck here to defend to the last. And this unit holds for so long. So me and Apollo were kind of saying, like, Jaime Lannister forgave his Kingsguard uniform, stuck on his Lannister uniform, and just kind of jumped into this unit. Because this unit is surrounded and holds pretty much to the end of the battle now. It's pretty disgusting. Over here, we're cutting off the last few Lannister resistance in the walls. There's a few pikemen still left standing. We've also almost completely enveloped this unit of pikemen as we're winning all along the walls now. The battle's looking very good in our favour. These Lannister soldiers having to fight back to back as they try their best to hold off, but they're just no match. There you go, that dude's getting cut down. Why? Why? Burn them. Burn them all is what you should say. There you go, there's very few Lannisters left. This Lannister has almost given up. And Stannis himself is going to go ahead and claim victory there. Because that's Stannis' unit. My men are going to be cheering for victory. Victory is at hand. There's very few Lannister troops left. We'll try to get some nice close-ups in this engagement. As my knights are also here. Yeah, look how cool the knights look as well. Now they fixed the shield bug, so they just have their shields out constantly. They look very nice. And I think me and Apollo, I'm not sure if you'll see it on his channel first or mine, me and Apollo played a huge Bolton versus House Aaron battle. And because of that, like, it was just crazy the amount of heavy, like, Vale cavalry and Bolton cavalry we had. I keep on calling them the Vale as well, because at the moment that they're the only unit in that faction. So we kind of are playing as the whole of the Vale, because that's the only unit, that's the only house in the faction. Whereas the Boltons have, you know, they're part of the North faction, and there's no one else really in the North fighting with the Boltons in that battle. Whereas the entirety of the Vale in this game are fighting, so that's why I keep on calling them. But when they add more factions, you know, like House Royce and stuff like that, I obviously will change my tone and call them House Aaron. But at the moment, it is literally just the Vale forces, because that's all they have at the moment. Because really, the North and the Riverlands are kind of the only factions which are complete in the mod. But now that they have all the extra work from the Seven Kingdoms team, the Kings of Winter team, and the Ice and Fire team, I'm just so excited to see what they can do. So Jaime Lannister's unit is holding very bravely, back to back, completely surrounded, and you can see my men are just pouring in the city now. I have a pretty nice reserve line as well of some swordsmen just marching in. These guys are fresh. These dudes have not seen battle. They're just going to walk in and just see the death and destruction. This front line, like especially over here, look at that. There's just siege towers laying, like just laid around, never made it to the walls. Dead cavalry. There's so much dead as well in the long grass, you just can't really see it. And my men are going to be pushing on. We're going to be holding here for a little while, because I want to kind of like reconsolidate all my force. As well as that, we have Tywin as well, I think. Yeah, you can see my men are exhausted. Look at them. You also have Stannis as well. Stannis has marched up and he's ready to lead the final charge and try and claim victory, claim his rightful throne at King's Landing. One of the things I always like to think about as well is, what if, you know, Renly never died, and like Stannis never killed Renly, and Robb like joined with Renly, because that was kind of the original plan they were talking about, right? Was that that he would support Renly in his, when Catelyn went to the Reach to go ahead and try and bargain like an alliance there. You know, the original agreement was, you know, like he would support Renly and Renly would allow him to be independent. Like, imagine if that would have happened, you know, like Renly defeated Stannis, even though obviously Stannis is the one true king, and, you know, you'd never be able to defeat him because he is the best. But, like, imagine if, like, Renly did, like, there was no devil baby, Renly defeated Stannis, marched with Robb Stark into King's Landing, and took the city. Because obviously with the support of the Stormlands, the Reach, and the North, like, there's nothing Tywin could have done there to claim victory. And they would have won, you know, Robb would still be alive, R.I.P. Then they could have marched north, dealt with the Ironborn, and everyone would have been happy. If only, hey. I mean, that stuff's like that, you know, that's way too nice for Game of Thrones, right? There's nothing like that could ever happen in Game of Thrones. That's way too kind and hopeful and optimistic. So the last few of my men are just pouring into the city now. Just going to go ahead and reform up and get ready to take this last assault. Here we go. I think I'm ready. Apollo has some men left. If we look at the balance of power, you can see it's hugely in my favor. It does look like that Stannis is going to be victorious today, and we'll watch his last stand right here. Apollo does have 700 brave men, or 800 brave men, up against my 3 and a bit thousand, which is pretty funny. Again, as I was saying, like, this battle isn't supposed to be super close. You know, it's supposed to be a fun battle. We weren't really try-harding. Obviously, we were both trying to win the battle, but, you know, we weren't super try-harding, just trying to hold choke points. We're trying to make it as cinematic as possible for you guys, and hopefully that does come across in the battle. So my Dragonstone armored levies are up against Apollo's Jaime Lannister spear unit, which is still holding right now. Which is disgusting to think that it's you know, up against, you know, surrounded on both fronts, almost completely surrounded as well. We're trying to cut off their exit to the wall. They have their backs up against the wall, and they're still fighting. You know, the rest of the wall has completely been gone. All the men have moved on. Like, literally all the soldiers have moved on to the inner layer now, just to finish up what Tywin, or just to go capture Tywin, basically. And yet there's still that one unit remains. I guess they have nowhere else to run to, so they're kind of stuck. And here we go, the last stand. Apollo's Lannister spearmen will hold this line. They will give their lives here. There is no escape for them. It's either they die in combat or they get burnt alive, because every Lannister who fought here will be burning. We are also moving men around the flank here. We have 3 units of Dragonstone spearmen who have made their way around. Again, my men are exhausted, so it's going to be a bit harder to get through here. There's a small line of pikes which still stay here, which are still holding their ground. They're supported with some skirmishers as well. Yeah, Apollo has a few units of skirmishers left as well, but not too much. Then the rest of the infantry are going to be going around here. As well as that, we have loads of swordsmen pouring down this left channel. Going to be coming up these gates. And here we go. The spearmen are going to be running onto these pikes. I mean, you could just kind of like duck underneath them, right? Several of these soldiers getting smashed down. But, you know, all we have to do, we have the men to sacrifice here. And once we break the formation of the pikes, it's going to be easy pickings for us. You know, we are really, really spreading Apollo out on this formation. You know, he doesn't really have any men left. If we press K, he has some armored swordsmen there, some heavy swordsmen, some longbowmen, which are going to be having to try and defend these last few points. Tywin himself will dismount to make his last stand in this battle. die here, and if he is captured, he will be burnt alive for sure for his treachery against the throne. Apparently, I can't say that word. Tywin is getting ready to try and rally the men. He's like, hold the line! Hold the goddamn line! But I fear it's not enough for him as my men just pour in. Look at this. Look how look how many men I just have in reserve. And Jaime Lannister, if we go back, if we update to Jaime Lannister's unit, it is still holding the goddamn line. No, they are slowly getting cut down, but look at this. Like, we've made good headway over here, but there's still so many of them left. Some of my Dragonstone men have made it into the formation, which is good, trying to separate them. But his brave warriors, you know, these elite Lannister warriors are just killing this little pocket which I made with my Dragonstone soldiers. Over here, if we look back at the fight, at the keep, you can see that we're going to be running on with my swordsmen onto his. And I think these are my fresh swordsmen as well. So these dudes are going to be doing much, much better against the enemy than, say, my more tired infantry. But again, these are actually heavy infantry, so it's going to be a bit hard. My main breaking point over here for Apollo, like, all I have to do is break through these few archers which remain. And then I'll be able to just completely envelop him, and he won't be able to stand a chance. As well as that, Tywin has gone into battle over on this flank there. This was the only breach which was like remaining, which he didn't have men at. So Tywin himself is charging in against my Dragonstone swordsman. And obviously this is not boding well for Tywin. He knows his doom is approaching, but look how nice the armor looks on these knights. Like, that's pretty crazy, just how good this armor looks. The detail in it is just amazing. They've done a really good job here. A really, really good job. I hope they add back the shields though. I really did like the shields which were previously in the mod. So hopefully they actually add them back in. Now if we just look at our makeshift King's Landing, the entire town is burnt. Several holes in the walls. The flag's just on the floor and his dude's trampling over it. This guy is fighting over a flag and he just fell. He fell for the flag. Some of my spearmen have actually made it around the back as well. It's hilarious. What the hell? How have they broken through this line? There's a few spearmen just having their own little engagement. I guess in a battle like this shit would actually happen though. Because when the two sides collide, like a lot of people would just jump over the battle line. Maybe not in like a medieval theme, but like, you know, if we were fighting barbarians or something, they would actually jump over the battle line, and then there'd be being fights like in the back right here. And this dude has just killed like 6 people. Oh no, he died. However, I've managed to win over here. The spearmen are pouring in as well as this. Yeah, you can see my spearmen over here as well, going to each of these flanks. They're going to form up here and then charge into the back of each one of these flanks. Tywin is still fighting hard. Stannis is in this fight somewhere. He is fighting alongside his men like the true king he is. So these guys are going to form up. And then charge in. Same over here. We'll go ahead and watch this charge first, as it's about to happen as they go right down the battle line, right down the hill. They have the hill advantage. Just completely envelop Tywin. And if we look back as well, you can see I'm doing the same over here. If we look back, we have finally cut down Jaime Lannister. Like, he held for so long there. Like, a ridiculously long time. And here we go, the charge is happening here, the final Lannister stand. I imagine all these dudes would just suddenly surrender. Yeah, there you go. They're not going to be holding for much longer. They're fighting back to back now. There's nowhere for them to run. And you can see they are actually routing over here as well. This unit is very close to routing. We've completely enveloped it, and Tywin is on his last legs right now. We'll watch his last demise. This will be the final bit of the battle. It's just watching Tywin's bodyguard getting cut down. I mean, he's fought valiantly. I'm sure he's killed several men in this battle, but he is not the one true king. Obviously, he's not a king at all. He's just, you know, trying to defend for his grandson, trying to help improve the Lannister name. But he stood in the way. His family stood in the way of this one true king. And there you go. Tywin Lannister has just been cut down right there. That was him. As you know, he does die in this battle. So maybe, there you go. He's just died. We'll say it was that dude right there. His head just got chopped off. See you later, Tywin. No crossbow bolts for you today. And the last few men are just routing. So that was a close victory for Stannis, even though Stannis had plenty of men left. It was a really epic battle, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it, because it was so much fun playing. Make sure to go ahead and drop a like and a comment on this video if you did. Yeah, Stannis lost about 2,500 men, and we managed to claim the victory in the castle, which was good. If we look at my kills, a few of my armored swords racking up 250 kills, 188, 152. Stannis getting 66 in his unit. The archers doing a good job. Cavalry doing okay. Catapults are mainly used for destroying walls though. If we look at Apollo's men, Tywin's unit got 38 kills. His spear's doing okay. I think this was the Jaime Lannister unit getting 77 kills and holding literally forever. His pikemen not doing that great, but I did manage to cut them down pretty easily. Some swordsmen doing okay. His archers really racking up a bunch of kills. 412 on these bad boys. Some of his catapults as well. Didn't even get any kills, but to be fair, he was firing flaming shells. And does he not know that we are blessed by R'hllor? Skirmish is doing okay. So cool, yeah, that's the battle. That was the Siege of King's Landing. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully, maybe one day, they'll make a King's Landing map for this mod. Because there's a lot of good mod creators creating maps for their mods now. So if we could get like a River Run, a Winterfell, I don't know, like the Eyrie, just anything like that, Highgarden, like that'd just be amazing to actually have a Game of Thrones castle to fight these battles on. Because now this mod is starting to get really populated with factions. We have the North, we have the Lannisters in the Westerlands, we have a pretty big Riverlands roster. The Vale are in it now with House Aaron, no more in that, but just House Aaron at the moment, and the Reach is starting to be implemented. I'm super excited for the Ironborn. I can't wait for them. That's going to be my faction I play the hell out of, because what is dead may never die. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. As I said before, make sure to drop a like, make sure to drop a comment. It really helps out the channel. I'll see you guys next time, and fish out.